It's Wednesday, March 16, 2022. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. In the headlines, opposition calls for cap in gas tax to increase cushion for Jamaicans. NWC to activate shutoffs to manage energy costs. Regionally, Antigua and Barbados to extend maternity leave to 14 weeks. And in sports, West Indies squad remains unchanged for today's second test in Barbados. An emergency meeting has been called today at the Ministry of Labour to stave off industrial action by air traffic controllers. It is understood that wage negotiations and a request from the Ministry of Finance that they remove some items from their wage claim are the main issues. On Monday, a 72-hour strike notice was issued by the Jamaica Air Traffic Controllers Association. The notice says it is slated to expire on Thursday. Cushion the crisis was the call from opposition leader Mark Golding. This as he delivered his budget reply in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Mr. Golding noted that in the upcoming fiscal year, the government is set to collect $99 billion more in taxes, but only plans on spending $2.75 billion to help the poor and reduce fuel prices.
At this time, reality demands that the government cushion the crisis and gives our people some ease from the heavy burdens. There is nothing in this budget that will give protection to the people who need it most. The government has not protected the people from what they will be facing. The government has no meaningful provisions to protect them from the onslaught of higher prices that are coming. We demand that more be done to ease the burdens on the Jamaican people.
Mr. Golding said Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark, who opened the budget debate in Parliament on March 8, missed a great opportunity to ease Jamaicans who are suffering from the shocks of the coronavirus pandemic and increased costs of living, partly fueled by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He warned the government against being too fiscally conservative and implored them to do more.
I would support additional expenditures of up to 2% of GDP to address the critical needs facing the society. That's about $40 billion. It is time to focus on helping our people. It is not the time for excessive fiscal conservatism. The government is playing with fire by leaving vulnerable populations unprotected in this vortex of high inflation and the unbearable cost of living. With real GDP growth of 3.5% projected for the coming fiscal year, this expenditure that I am proposing would not worsen the debt to GDP ratio. On the other hand, it would also begin the process of addressing some of the major social deficits that cause our low national productivity and our dire problem of violent crime.
Meanwhile, Mr. Golding raised the issue of the new banknotes which were revealed in Parliament last week, stating this was not needed at this time.
How do new banknotes help our people who are trying to survive day to day, living from hand to mouth? How is it relevant at a time like this? Madam Speaker, it will do nothing to help the people ride out the storm. As one man told me, it won't put one more dumpling in the pot.
The People's National Party leader also took issue with the way the notes were introduced, stating a bipartisan approach should have been taken to establish the new design.
The approach reflects a deeper issue of arrogant governance. The government chose not to consult with the opposition on the design of the new notes, even though the proposed design involves powerful symbolism affecting some of our great political leaders. Creating new banknotes is not just a family matter. It is much bigger than that. No consultation. You just brought it here last Tuesday with a whole bag of hype. That is not how to build a better understanding. That is not how you promote togetherness. That is not how we work together. That is disrespect. And yes, we know the Prime Minister wants his mentor, Mr. Siaga, on a banknote.
But Prime Minister Andrew Holness rose on a point of order.
At no time was there ever a consideration regarding the well-known and close relationship that I have had with Mr. Siaga as an impetus or a reason or a cause for him to be added to our currency. Mr. Siaga is on the currency because he deserves to be there. Having served people of the country. I wish to assure the Jamaican people that we do not make these national decisions on political basis.
The opposition leader rebutted and gave this solution to the government and the House of Representatives.
If a new $2,000 note is needed, that is fine. Put Mr. Siaga on the $2,000 note. But leave Michael Manley on the $1,000 note.
The planned $2,000 bill is among several new banknotes announced by Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark. The notes will bear the images of the country's national heroes and late former prime ministers. The People's National Party, PNP, is calling on the government to cap the special consumption tax as a measure to ease consumers from the rising fuel prices. Initially, the opposition proposed the removal of the tax collected for oil hedging, but this was refused by the government.
We are proposing that for the duration of the inflation crisis, the government caps the ad valorem SCT on fuel at an oil price of $67.50 US per barrel, and also the equivalent for the price of LNG, so that prices of those crucial commodities that go above the budgeted price do not result in higher taxes on fuel. Consumers need a break on their electricity bills and will soon need a break on their water bills. Motorists need a break at the pumps with the price of gas at historic highs. Taxis and bus operators, they need a break too. Their costs have eroded the viability of their business, and they are now pressuring the government for a fare increase, which a commuting public can hardly afford.
Opposition leader Mark Golding used Barbados as an example as Prime Minister Mia Mottley presented her budget in Parliament on Tuesday, stating although Barbados will have to raise new taxes to pay for it, Jamaica is in a different position and can afford to. As a measure to keep energy costs down, the National Water Commission, NWC, will strategically shut down some of their facilities during certain hours. Describing the oil market as volatile, NWC President Mark Barnett revealed that, on average, the energy cost for the public water provider had soared almost 30% over a 3-month period, overshooting the monthly projection of around $750,000. The company says it is still fine-tuning the list of communities that will be affected by water lockoffs, as well as the periods of production shutdowns. The water provider, in a statement, told consumers that they must conserve as best as possible if they are to always have water. The NWC has implemented several measures that are aimed at cutting its energy costs. These include the use of renewable energy sources for the Portmore Commercial Office in St. Catherine, the Hamilton Garden Wastewater Treatment Plant in St. Catherine, and their Oxford Road office in St. Andrew. It says work has commenced on a photovoltaic system to operate the Forest Hill Relift pumping facility that serves residents of Red Hills and the surrounding environs in that section of St. Andrew. To mark World Water Day on March 22 this year, the NWC is embarking on the More Trees, More Water initiative. As part of the project, its employees are being encouraged to plant trees at the NWC's facilities, as well as at their homes and in their communities. Time now for the latest market updates in the Business Report with Danita Rodney.
In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, March 15, The US dollar sold for an average of $153.45. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $120.14. The pound sterling traded for $201.64. And the euro sold for an average of $170.47. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Tuesday's trading session. The JSE index declined by 3,408 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index declined by 38 points to close at over 3,000 units. The combined market index declined by 3,528 points to close at over 300,000 units. And the all-Jamaican composite index declined by 4,236 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 94 stocks, of which 30 advanced, 49 declined, and 15 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Trading firm were 1834 Investments Limited, CAC 2009.5% cumulative redeemable preference shares, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. JFP Limited was the volume leader with over 30 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 3 million units, and Lumber Depot Limited with over 2.7 million units. In market data for oil steadied above $100 a barrel on Wednesday as it came under pressure from signs of progress in Russia-Ukraine peace talks. Brent crude rose 46 cents, or 0.5% to $100.37 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude added 59 cents, or 0.6% to $97.03 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, we begin in Grenada. Finance Minister Gregory Bowen says government may not be able to sustain the $15 cap on gas and diesel prices if current trends persist in the coming months. More details from Gerard Joseph.
Seeking to raise the awareness of the public on the implications the Russia-Ukraine war and the United States-Europe issues will have on Grenada, Finance Minister Gregory Bowen says prices for fuel have moved from about $79 a barrel at the time of the cap in December to around $110 last month. He notes that prices at the pump without the cap would have been $17.79 per gallon in February and jumping to $19.41 in March.
If we continue to jump like this, with a terrible happening in the Ukraine, while we say April and May will be down 18, they could be 20.
Changes in fuel prices normally take effect on the 18th of every month. Citing the $5.50 petrol tax, the finance minister says if the price continues to be capped at $15, government stands to lose millions of dollars in revenue.
Now the total tax out of the $5.50 for the year we're looking at, and that's a good projection, will be something like $28 million that we'll be giving up. Taxes collected and given back to the importers to pay for the fuel. But in general, if we look at a different scenario, we could expect to give up $71 million at a higher level scenario if the prices go to $21 and $22 if we remain at the $15.
Minister Bowen says the option is to increase the cap to $16 or $17 if fuel prices continue to increase, as government is already cutting taxes it would have been collecting.
We should erode that $5.50 within 2 to 3 months, or we could do it in 1 month. If we hear about the possibility of nuclear technology being used, then all things will go up. So within 1 month, you can have it done, within 3 months.
Government, Bowen says, is also hopeful that possible deals via CARICOM can be made with oil-producing companies which have been banned so that supply can be increased and fuel prices are stabilized.
In Barbados, Prime Minister Mottley has rolled out the Barbadian Shield, a plan seeking to make it easier for residents to operate in the face of rising costs on the international market. The plan was outlined in Parliament by the Prime Minister through her presentation of the Annual Financial Statement and Budgetary Proposal 2022. The almost 4-hour budget speech contained several measures designed to boost the island's economic fortunes. The measures include reducing government's tax take on petroleum products, capping freighting costs, and easing the cost of items needed by people who currently suffer from chronic, non-communicable diseases. According to the Prime Minister, the changes to the price of petroleum products, for instance, will cost the government $25.2 million in revenue.
It is against that backdrop, therefore, sir, that we propose to cap the dollar amount of VAT payable on petrol to 47 cents per litre from the 61 cents. And we shall do so effective midnight Wednesday, March 16th, initially for 6 months. I give the House the assurance that at the end of the 6 months, we may well have to look and see what further adjustments have to be made. But in this environment, we have to walk sure-footed. This means, Mr. Speaker, once adjusted from midnight tomorrow night, night after, Wednesday, March 16th, the government, therefore, will see the price, or Barbadians will see the price of oil at the pump go from $4.13 to $3.99 immediately. The government of Barbados will partially shield consumers from the increased freight costs by capping the cost of freight used for the purpose of calculating customs duties at the pre-COVID-19 levels of $7,350 per 20-foot container and $8,000 for 40-foot containers, and we shall hold these costs for 12 months, Mr. Speaker. This means, sir, that the government will forego revenue with respect to the escalation of shipping prices for the next 12 months until March 31st, 2023.
In news from Antigua, Parliament's lower house on Tuesday passed the Antigua and Barbuda Labor Code Amendment Bill 2022 to extend maternity leave to 14 weeks, up from 12 weeks. Kim Emmanuel Baird tells us more.
The amendment was piloted by Attorney General and Labor Minister, the Honorable Steadroy Benjamin, and will mean women on maternity leave will soon have more time to spend bonding with their newborns. The Attorney General outlined the provisions for an extension in the maternity leave from 12 weeks to 14.
The International Labour Organization and other bodies examined this matter, and having examined millions of ladies, they thought it fitting that further amendments ought to be done.
The Attorney General says the Labour Code Amendment Bill will promote good health and safety for both mother and child. He recalls in the year 1998 when women were only given 6 weeks at home before returning to work. Then an amendment was made.
Clearly, that was insufficient. After representation being made by the females and the medical doctors in this particular matter, it was increased to 12 weeks.
The bill was passed without amendment and now goes for debate in the Senate. This is Kim Emmanuel Baird for ABS News.
And in Trinidad and Tobago, 3 persons have been charged and 4 others are being investigated regarding fraudulent vaccination cards. The update comes from Health Minister Terence Dialsing.
3 persons have been charged and 4 others are being investigated regarding fraudulent vaccination cards. The update comes from Health Minister Terence Dialsing in the Senate on Tuesday. Asked by the opposition whether there is any time frame as to when the others may be charged, the minister notes that it is now in the hands of the police service.
The time frame will be determined by how long the investigation takes by the TTPS. The Ministry of Health is not a prosecutorial agency. We don't investigate. We hand over those matters to the TTPS, and it will take as much time as the TTPS deems sufficient.
In sport news, we're off the stumps with cricket. Cricket West Indies CWI men's selection panel has named an unchanged squad for the second Apex Test match against England. The match will be played at Kensington Oval from March 16 to 20. The three-match Apex series is level 0-0 following a draw in the first Apex Test match, which was played at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. Nkrumah Bonner was named player of the match. He scored a career-best 123 in the first innings and 38 not out in the second innings on the final day. Lead selector, the Most Honourable Dr. Desmond Haynes, said, quote, "It was a hard-fought first match in Antigua, and we decided to stick with the same 13 players for the second match in Barbados." Test captain Craig Brathwaite shared his game plan.
You just gotta, deal with the processes, I think that's important. Also, Bonner led the way, with the batting, last time, and we got 350 in the first innings, so it's trying to repeat that, being consistent, with getting runs, and then obviously the bowling is, just being a little more disciplined in terms of the middle periods, probably a little tighter on the 3 runs of over. I think creating that pressure will help, to get more wickets, in the middle order.
Still in cricketing news, also in Barbados for the match and his party is former West Indies opener Chris Gayle. He had a few words for his former teammates.
Craig, let me know if you need me. I can come and face the first ball. But I want to wish them all the best. I want to wish the team all the best. They did a fantastic job in Antigua. So hopefully they can actually go one up against a strong England side. It's going to be something interesting. I know the fan base is going to be huge, based on the English side. So, we've been there, done that, so we know what, what to expect tomorrow. So all the best, guys. Go out there, do what you do best. Enjoy it.
Expressing concern that grassroots cricket in the Caribbean region is under threat, Cricket West Indies CWI Director of Cricket Jimmy Adams says administrators are desperately trying to regain momentum to preserve and nurture current and future talent. He said there is a particular need to identify and develop female talent in the sport. Speaking at a press conference where he discussed the launch of the CWI Emerging Players Academy, Adams said while there is raw talent across CWI territories, if we don't protect our grassroots cricket, then we might not be saying that in 10 years' time. The academy is aimed at supporting the development of world-class players from the Caribbean. And with that, we call an end to today's newscast. On behalf of our entire news production team, thanks for watching the news and for making it PBCJ, the People's Station.